They were strangled, deliberately and meticulously killed by this defendant on January 24th of 2023. One by one, she wrapped exercise bands around each one of the kids' necks and pulled until their little bodies were limp and lifeless.
The prosecutors say Lindsay Clancy did it.
And he knew when he brought this charge that it was going to kill the soul of this young woman. And they would bring their evidence in front of a jury that she knows that she killed these children.
Her defense is saying she did it. The only real issue in dispute at Lindsay Clancy's triple murder trial is whether she should be held criminally responsible because of her mental illness. But a growing number of people don't agree with the prosecution or the defense. They're pointing the finger at Lindsay's now ex-husband, Patrick Clancy.
She said she heard a man's voice telling her that if she didn't do it now, she would lose her chance.
So what exactly is the evidence that is convincing people that everyone in the courtroom is getting it wrong? And could anyone on the jury also be looking at Patrick Clancy as a potential suspect? The triple murder trial of Lindsay Clancy is the biggest case in the nation. It's not supposed to be a whodunit, but there's a whole bunch of people online that are now pointing the finger at someone else, not Lindsay Clancy, but Patrick Clancy. So what exactly is the evidence that is convincing these people online that the government, the prosecution, and the defense have it wrong? I'm Vinnie Politan. Let's investigate. This case, this trial has taken on a whole different life online, something that I wasn't expecting. I'll be honest with you, I was not expecting any of this, but it's for real. It's really happening. Lindsay Clancy, it's a mental illness defense that she's putting out. And it's not the first time I've covered one of these. And when the defense says mental illness, legal insanity, they are conceding the underlying conduct, that the client, the defendant, is responsible for what they're accused of. In a murder case, if you're claiming legal insanity, you are basically telling the court, the judge, the jury, the world, yes, I did it. I did it. But I shouldn't be held responsible because of my mental illness. It really wasn't me. And that's what's happening in this case with Lindsay Clancy. It's exactly what's happening. So everything else is happening online, to me, so unexpected. Now, Patrick Clancy is the one who's become the online target. And why is that? We're going to dig into that. And that's what this episode is all about. But when I think about where we are in the world of true crime, right? The true crime audience that is growing and growing and growing and taking a deeper look at these high profile cases, it's reaching a point that I don't think it's ever been in my career at Court TV. And you know, I've been here longer than anyone on earth. So the atmosphere is a little bit different. But this is different than the Karen Reed case, okay? The Karen Reed trial, where folks at home weren't believing what prosecutors were alleging, there was someone in court who believed the same thing that the online audience believed, which was that Karen Reed was not guilty, that something happened inside that house and someone else was responsible for what happened to John O'Keefe, and Karen Reed was not guilty. And in the end, the jury agreed with the sentiment of the folks who were following and watching and listening to every detail in the Karen Reed case. But as I said, this is different. This is different because no one inside this courtroom is pointing the finger at Patrick Clancy. No one has accused him of anything. He's not part of this defense case. He's a witness. He's a victim. So where is the evidence that the audience, that the viewers, that the true crime community is looking at that points them in this direction? right? I mean, let's start here. What I did is on my YouTube page, I put up a poll just trying to get a pulse of like how big is this movement? How many people are thinking this? And take a look at the poll. And the question was simple. Do you believe Patrick Clancy is responsible? Boom. 21% saying yes. 79% saying no. All right. The 79% aren't saying that Lindsay Clancy necessarily is guilty, but Patrick Clancy isn't the one who took the lives of their 3 children. And that's kind of important, right? But 21% is not a negligible number. That's like a real number. So I wanted to dig deeper and understand exactly, well, what are the facts surrounding this belief? Because it can't just be one little thing. It has to be more than that. And I posted this thing on Facebook and got a response from Tony Ann, who gave a very detailed analysis of what folks are saying and why folks believe that Patrick Clancy is involved. And again, he hasn't been charged with anything, and no one is pointing the finger at him. None of the investigators, no one from the DA's office, no one from the defense team, whose job it is to do anything and everything to defend their client. So if someone else is responsible, or there was evidence that someone else was responsible, it would seem Kevin Reddington and his team would have to uncover that and would have to make those arguments, but they're not. So here's what Tony Ann said. And number one, his DNA is on the bands, not hers. The murder weapons, the exercise bands. That is the belief of folks online. He changed clothes from the CVS to the restaurant. Remember, when he leaves the house, he goes to CVS first, then goes to the restaurant to pick up the food, and then returns home. And the allegation is here that he goes to CVS, he's wearing clothes, so one set of clothes there, and then somehow changes his clothes in between going from CVS to the restaurant. Her prescription bottles are in his car. He stated under oath that it takes 3 minutes to get to the CVS, yet he didn't enter it until 5:32. So his timeline doesn't make sense. Claims he sent a work email from the car, but also stated it was sent from his Surface Pro, which was in his home. Then stated under oath it could have been sent from his iPhone. Okay, did he send it from a Surface Pro? Did he send it from his iPhone? Is there a difference there? So is he lying about what he's doing in that time? Is he cleaning up the crime scene and he's not doing what he said he was doing? I guess those are part of the allegation here. Her Apple Watch was found in a drawer, yet it appears he has it on his hand when he's entering the CVS. And this is significant because there was a call while he's at CVS to Lindsay. Patrick and Lindsay are calling one another. And the Apple Watch plays a role in what people are talking about, because I've seen people say, well, he called himself on her Apple Watch, which he brought to the CVS. The crushed pills in the glass, he profited from this, $1.7 million from a GoFundMe, sold the house and made a profit from that as well. Remember Chris Watts. So you get an idea of the sentiment here. And Chris Watts was an absolute villain and a murderer. And he's in prison now for what he did. But the comparison of Patrick Clancy and Chris Watts, to me, that's a stretch. Like the level of evidence against Chris Watts was overwhelming in that case. The evidence against Patrick Clancy, and this is what it is. So let's take a look at some of this and what we've seen inside the courtroom. And let's start with this wardrobe change. First, let's take a look at Patrick Clancy at CVS and see what we notice. Let's take a look. He's walking in. You want to notice his shoes and his jacket, because that's what people are talking about. And the shoes appear to be brown. He's walking around. He's got some sort of a jacket on, right? He's going down the aisle. And I guess the allegation is that when he makes the phone call, and this is interesting, look at the shoes. The shoes look basically brown from that video as he walks in. And again, here he is walking down the aisle. Is that where he makes this faux phone call, right? It would be a fake phone call on the Apple Watch. And I couldn't tell from the video specifically about the Apple Watch, but let's now take a look at Patrick at the restaurant. We just saw him at CVS. Let's take a look at him at the restaurant now. All right, do the shoes appear a little bit lighter? Is it a different, he zips down his jacket now. And is he wearing an Apple Watch? I'm trying to understand that. It's hard with the sleeves. What I do notice, though, is his shoes are lighter, but they do look kind of brown right there. Maybe two-tone. The sole looks a little white, but his face looks much more pale here as well, as does everyone, including that other customer. Everything looks a little lighter, like the video itself is brighter. And again, we're looking at shoes, at jacket. And do those appear to be different shoes? Like each frame, they look a little different. Watch the shoes. Depending upon the lighting, they appear, from my perspective, to sort of change a little bit if you take a look at them. Now, if you take a freeze frame, we got a freeze frame. We'll do that so you can do a side by side. Looking at this particular freeze frame, yeah, the shoes look different. But do they? If I look at his left foot on the left side of the screen from CVS, from that angle, there appears to be sort of like a two-tone thing going on in the shoe, right? The middle part is a little bit darker, and the outer part of the shoe is a little bit lighter, right? So the inner part here is a little darker, and this part is lighter. To me, that's consistent with what you see on the right, although everything is lighter on the right, including his face, which is almost washed out. But you look at his right leg looks like a boot, doesn't look like a sneaker or a gym shoe or a tennis shoe. And the soles look darker on the left than they do on the right. So what exactly does that mean? Did he change his shoes? Did he change his jacket? On the left, is that just a little, partial zipper, pullover, versus he fully unzips it when he gets to the restaurant? I'm not buying that. Maybe you are, but I don't see that much of a difference between the jacket. Like, could there be a zipper on the left-hand side that goes all the way down? Yeah, there could be, because the contrast in the video is such that you can't distinguish things. Like, look at his left arm. Like, what is that? It doesn't even look like a hand. It's because the lighting's not perfect and the camera's not as good as the camera I have here in my studio. But this is part of the basis of what folks are seeing. Let's move on to the fingerprints, because this is another issue, right? Fingerprints on the murder weapons, the knife, etc. Here's the testimony from the fingerprint examiner from the Massachusetts State Police. This is like his job, is to get fingerprints, is to get that sort of evidence from other pieces of evidence, to get the fingerprints to try to tie someone to the murder weapons and the knife. Let's take a listen.
When you touch an item and leave some remnants of a fingerprint, it's the oils and everything that are on your finger that leave the impression on the item.
Yes.
And so are there things that can affect whether you actually get enough information to analyze a fingerprint?
Yes.
What kinds of things can influence that?
So it could be the texture of the actual object itself. It could also be environmental factors. If there's low humidity, it could be if there's the person touching the item might not have residue on their hands. There's also movement can affect fingerprints. The strength, the grip on an item also affects that, as well as they could be wiped off, because fingerprints, like I said, are very, very, very fragile.
Okay, and so is it oftentimes the case that you analyze for a print and don't find anything of value?
Yes.
And so as it pertains to these items that you reviewed, the knife, the exercise bands, can you tell us what your findings were when it came to the knife?
Yes, the knife did have limited detail. meaning that there were areas of friction ridge impressions, which is that's what we've referred to fingerprints. Is the friction ridge skin is the skin that covers your palms and your fingers and your toes and your feet. The friction ridge skin is what leaves the impression on an object. So there was an area of friction ridge impression on that knife. So it was photographed further and giving an item number. Upon further analysis, there was not enough detail to do a comparison.
So when you photograph it for further analysis, why do you do that?
Do that in order to take a deeper look to see if there was enough characteristics or minutia to do a comparison to a known print.
So with a photograph, you can enhance it and look at it closer, correct?
Correct.
But after doing that, were you able to make any sort of opinions about that area on the knife?
Yes, there was not enough characteristics or minutia to do any comparison, so it was deemed no value.
And as far as the exercise bands, fair to say you also did the same and examined those to try to identify if they had any friction ridge detail or anything of value that you could conduct a comparison on, right?
Yes.
And was there any on either the yellow band, the black band, or the blue band?
No, there was not enough to do. No value.
Okay. So the case can't be solved with fingerprints. You couldn't. There was nothing there. Sometimes they get fingerprints, sometimes they don't. Before there was DNA, fingerprints were like the gold standard, right? You get a fingerprint, you can tie the defendant to the murder weapon, you can tie them to the scene. That doesn't exist here. But the other part of all of this is that it's their home and it's where they live. So even if you did find fingerprints on a knife or on an exercise, what would it mean? Like, it's in their house and they use it. So from my perspective, the fingerprints, not really a big deal, even if they did, but they weren't able to find anything either way. So when you look at the bigger picture of what we're talking about here, this is a case that's fully investigated by the Massachusetts State Police and the Duxbury Police and the DA's office. And they came up with nothing to point the finger at Patrick Clancy. What incentive would they have, right? And I said, it's different than Karen Reed. In Karen Reed, law enforcement was part of the alleged conspiracy in the case. So they had a reason why they wouldn't find evidence or would find evidence. But here, no one's got a dog in the race. Like, there's no reason to protect Patrick versus Lindsay or Lindsay versus Patrick. Although Kevin Reddington has one job and one job only, and that's to protect Lindsay. And wherever there is evidence that would point a jury in the direction of setting her free, he has an obligation to do that. So I wanted to take a moment to tell you about something really exciting here at Law and Crime. If you haven't heard yet, we have the Law and Crime Plus app, and it's a total game changer. First off, you get all your favorite shows from both Law and Crime and Core TV, and everything is ad-free. But what I'm most excited to share with you is a feature called Case Files. This is where we give you a deep dive into the biggest cases in true crime, and you get access to the actual evidence, including body cam video, 911 calls, crime scene photos, trial footage, and so much more. You really get to explore the evidence like never before. And because we want all of you to check it out, we're giving our viewers a free, did you hear me? I said free 1-month trial. Just head over to lawandcrimeplus.com and enter the promo code VPI and start your free trial today. Now, I think the skepticism of viewers is healthy. And I think jurors should have that same skepticism when it comes to the evidence and trying to figure out what happened. And I think Tony Ann, in her comment, provided a lot of that. The first line, though, she talked about was, his DNA is on the bands, not hers. So I want to dive into that issue and take a listen to some of the DNA evidence. We begin with the blue exercise band, which was used to take the life of little baby Callan. Here's the judge talking about the stipulation, what both sides, prosecution and defense, agree to.
The parties agreed to the following conclusions regarding comparison analysis of these items. A, item 2-4.1.1, sample from the ends of the blue exercise band. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. There are 5 individuals who have a likelihood ratio that indicates an inclusion in the profile. They are Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, Cora Clancy, Lindsay Clancy, and Patrick Clancy. B, item 2-4.2.1, sample from the middle of the blue exercise band. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. Callan Clancy is included as a major contributor. And C, item 3-3.1, sample of swabs from the red-brown stain A on the basement floor. The DNA profile was interpreted as originating from a single contributor. Cora Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. So that's the stipulation that the parties have agreed to. All right.
And here's the difficulty with DNA in this case, is that family members' DNA is mixed together. So sometimes you can't tell if there's 2 people who are contributing to the DNA, 3, 4, or 5. And what you just heard from the stipulation is both sides agree that Lindsay had an equal likelihood of inclusion in the profile. So she could have been there. They just don't know because family members have common DNA. It could have been Patrick. It could have been Lindsay. It could have been both of them. That's what that stipulation just told us. Let's move on to the yellow exercise band, the one that was used to take the life of Dawson. Here's the criminalist, Katrina Stashin, testifying.
For item 2-2.1.1, sample from ends of yellow exercise band located in basement office. The DNA profile is a mixture, including male DNA. Due to the possible relatedness of low-level contributors to this profile, an alternate number of contributors was considered. First, assuming 2 contributors. The DNA profile is a mixture of at least 2 contributors, including male DNA. Contributors 1 and 2 are suitable for comparison. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 2 contributors. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.7 non-million times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile. Assuming 3 contributors. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. Contributor 1 is suitable for comparison. Due to limited information and possible relatedness of contributors, contributors 2 and 3 are not suitable for comparison. The DNA profile from this item is at least 920 octillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included to this DNA profile. Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy are excluded from contributor 1 of this DNA profile.
And then going to item 2-2.2.1, the swabs from the middle of the exercise band, what were your findings for that?
The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 2 contributors, including male DNA. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.5 non-million times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 3.6 million times more likely if it originated from Callan Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Callan Clancy is included as a contributor to this profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.4 billion times more likely if it originated from Patrick Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from two unknown, unrelated individuals. This provides support that Patrick Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Cora Clancy and Lindsay Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile. The mixture DNA profile from this item is consistent with having originated from two individuals. There are 3 individuals who have a likelihood ratio that indicates an inclusion. Though there is support for the individual inclusions of Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, and Patrick Clancy to the mixture DNA profile, under the stated assumptions, these individuals cannot be present in the mixture together, assuming 1, 2 contributors, and 2, Dawson Clancy is one of the contributors, Callan Clancy and Patrick Clancy cannot be present in the mixture together. Support for inclusion may be impacted by mixtures which contain relative, especially first-degree relatives. Refer to the independent inclusionary statistics above.
That's the clip I think a lot of people are focusing on, right? This is the yellow exercise band where they're excluding the 2 female members of the family from the sample that they were able to get, right? Cora and Lindsay are excluded from that. They're the females, but the males are included. It's two of them making the presumption that there are 2 or 3 contributors. The confusion here is that they're taking various samples from it and making presumptions that, okay, because it's family members, if it's 2 people, then it could be this person, this person, this person, or this person, but not all 3. And that's what they're talking about there. But that's the one example that I think has really become the genesis of the DNA argument in this case. But it wasn't the case with the blue exercise band, okay? Let's take a look now at what was said about the black exercise band, the one that took the life of Cora, the daughter.
And then going to item 2-3.1.1, the swabs from the ends of the black exercise band, you found that that sample was a mixture but wasn't suitable for comparison, correct?
Correct.
And what does it mean to be not suitable for comparison?
I'll read the statement in the report and then I'll clarify as needed. The DNA profile is a mixture, including male DNA, and is not suitable for comparison due to the complexity of the profile, the possibility of at least 5 contributors, and the relatedness of potential contributors.
And then going to item 2-3.2.1, the swabs from the middle of the exercise band, what were your findings there?
The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors, including male DNA. The DNA profile from this item is at least 870 trillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.6 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Cora Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Cora Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 2,600 times more likely if it originated from Callan Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Callan Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 220,000 times more likely if it originated from Patrick Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Patrick Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 11 times more likely if it originated from Lindsay Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides limited support that Lindsay Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab DNA Unit validation studies showed inclusions for known non-contributors in the likelihood ratio range of at least 2 to 1,000 adventitious support could be attributed to this conclusion. The mixture DNA profile from this item is consistent with having originated from 3 individuals. There are 5 individuals who have a likelihood ratio that indicate an inclusion. Though there is support for the individual inclusions of Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy to the mixture DNA profile, under the stated assumptions, these individuals cannot be present in the mixture together. Assuming 1, 3 contributors, and 2, Cora Clancy is one of the contributors, Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy cannot be present in the mixture together. Support for inclusion may be impacted by mixtures which contain relatives, especially first-degree relatives. Refer to the independent inclusionary statistics above.
For this item, the middle of the black exercise band, the highest number of possible inclusion was the 1.6 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Cora Clancy and 2 unknown individuals, correct?
Yes, the highest statistic for this item was a likelihood ratio of 1.6 nonillion for Cora Clancy.
And based on your analysis of the data that you had, you determined it was a mixture of 3 contributors, correct?
Correct.
And so when you have the 3 contributors and Cora Clancy has the highest likelihood of being a contributor, if you include her in the mixture, the other 4 members of the family are excluded, correct?
Assuming 1, 3 contributors, and 2, Cora Clancy is one of the contributors, Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy cannot be present in the mixture together. Again, those statistics are all calculated independently and don't say anything about those people being in the mixture together.
Okay, the bottom line, they're not eliminating Lindsay Clancy from this black exercise band. There's a possibility of 5 contributors in 2 different samples that they got, and another one that's 11 times more likely. Like the numbers aren't as high as Patrick's, but the numbers are there. She's not eliminated from this. And again, the complication comes because it's familial DNA being mixed together, and it's hard to distinguish how many people's DNA is even there. And by the way, why would Patrick Clancy's DNA be on there? He testified that when he went to the basement, he removed the exercise bands from his 3 children. So yeah, his DNA should be there. Her DNA, yeah, it is not eliminated from being there. So on that issue, I think the focus really ended up on that 1 sample from one of the 3 bands. So another one of the issues I wanted to talk about when it comes to people who are questioning whether or not Patrick Clancy is involved in all of this is his conversation with Lindsay when he came home from picking up the food and going to CVS. Let's put this up on the screen. This is a comment from my social media from Diane, who said, I read that the first responders / paramedics said she couldn't talk. How did she answer they're in the basement to her husband? Right? So on the one hand, Patrick Clancy is saying he's having a conversation with Lindsay, and folks are like, but didn't the EMT say she couldn't talk? So let's take a listen now to Patrick Clancy talking about this moment.
And when you saw Lindsay on the ground there under the window, which direction was her body facing?
Her head was closer to the house. Her feet were away from the house.
Okay. And did you go to her?
Yeah.
And did you observe any injuries?
Yes.
And what did you see?
She had deep cuts on her wrists, and she had a red line across her neck. I wasn't sure what it was at first, but she cut her neck.
And do you recall that these wounds weren't actively bleeding at the time?
I later learned that I said that on the 911 call.
And when you observed these wounds, is it correct that the 911 operator asked you or instructed you to apply pressure if needed?
I don't recall the whole call, but I believe that's probably true.
Okay. And you didn't at the time feel the need to apply pressure to any of those wounds, correct?
Correct.
Did you say anything to Lindsay when you found her in that state?
Yeah, I said, what happened?
And what was her response?
She said I tried to kill myself.
Did you ask her anything else?
I said, where are the kids?
And what was her response?
She said they're in the basement.
Okay, that's pretty clear. That's pretty straightforward, right? Now, I want you to take a listen to Stephen Hall from the Duxbury Police Department, one of the first responders to the scene, and his observations of Lindsay Clancy.
Was she conscious?
Semi-conscious, in and out of consciousness.
And what was she doing that gave you that indication?
She would wake up and move around and then kind of just go still again.
And when you say she would move around, what parts of her body was she moving?
Just her head, really.
Was she able to speak to you?
She wasn't, no.
Was she making any sounds?
She was just, like, it sounded like she was in pain.
So something like moaning or something like that?
Yes.
So this obviously fueling a lot of the sentiment that, wait a minute, how could this be true? Like, what is going on here? How could she speak to Patrick Clancy but not speak with emergency responders? I want to bring in a special guest to help us work through this issue and some other things that are happening up in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Bob Motta joining us. He's the host of the Defense Diaries podcast. Make sure you check it out. The other great thing right now, Bob, you can see he's got water behind him. He's in Massachusetts. He's been inside the courtroom. Bob, great to see you.
Great to be here, Vin. Always love to hang with you, my friend.
Yeah, first tell people where you are so they believe me that you're in Massachusetts.
I am I've been lucky enough to secure room and board in a fabulous beach house in Hull, Massachusetts. So we're right on the beach, and it's, as you can see, pretty beautiful out. It's a nice way to kind of cleanse from the trial. At the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to get your comment on what we just saw. What's your interpretation of why Patrick Clancy could speak with Lindsay, but the EMTs could not?
I don't know. I don't know how long it took the EMTs to get there after the 911 call. I don't know if the EMTs were trying to engage her in conversation, like if they were asking like what happened, and like that wasn't one of the questions that got asked. Like, did you try to speak to her? The question that was asked is, was she speaking? So I look, here's where I'm at with the Patrick Clancy thing. I'm just gonna say it like right out. I'm friendly with Kevin Reddington. Kevin Reddington has, since the inception of this case, has gone to the Commonwealth and said, look, we'll stipulate to the homicides. My client did it. My client has done this. He offered to stipulate right before the trial started again, and it's been a continuing thing. I have to trust that Kevin Reddington, who has been representing her since the minute this happened, has asked all those questions. The guy's a war horse. The guy's been doing it for 50 years. I've got all the faith in the world that if Patrick Clancy was a potential suspect in this, that Kevin Reddington would have jumped all over it. And, we are where we are with it. So I can't answer those questions because I don't know the answers. I don't know.
Let's talk about this, though. Like, you are a trial attorney. I've been covering the highest profile trials in the nation for decades now.
Yeah.
There's something happening, though, because the public is reacting this way, right? From my perspective, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, wait a minute, true crime is blowing up. And there are people now coming into the world that we've been living in for decades, and some are seeing it for the first time, but some are taking a much deeper dive than they ever did before. Moments like this, and we're talking generally now, like little facts that don't seem to add up. I've said before, I see it in like almost every trial. There are things that don't, you really, like something else is going on here. I can't fully understand it.
Right.
Is it unusual that these types of things are cropping up during this trial?
I don't think so. It's like you said, every trial has those kind of like odd facts that make you kind of tilt your head and go, you know, and like that's where reasonable doubt lives, though. You know what I mean? There is, because we're always, as attorneys, Vin, you know, I mean, we're coming in after the fact. Law enforcement's coming in after the fact. We're trying to recreate a situation that's occurred through witness statements, if there's video that's available from the evidence that they find on the scene, and you're trying to put this puzzle together. You know, I mean, granted, I will admit that I don't think that would be a conversation that Patrick Clancy would forget in terms of that moment in time. So, you know, if there were a doctor to come on and say, because I've seen some of the videos, I saw an EMT say, look, her spine was crushed, her thyroid was crushed, there's no way she could make words. It's a strange fact. It's a strange fact if you're trying to figure out, like, why would he make that up? Even if you don't go to the, it's nefarious, like that he was the guy who somehow did it and somehow Lindsay Clancy has forgotten about it. You know what I mean? Or it's that part of it for me is strange. All of the rest of it, not so strange from what I've heard of the theory, you know? But again, in that moment in time, I don't know if she can make words or not. I mean, I'd love to be able to ask her. I mean, the woman can speak. She's got it. She doesn't have amnesia. Right. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have to lean on trusting Kevin Reddington that if anything regarding the ability to be able to try to pin it on Patrick existed in the world, that guy would have figured it out immediately and vetted it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to trust a guy who's been, you know, on the super lawyers list for 20 years straight and who's an absolute, I mean, you're watching him. It's like watching,
I've been watching Kevin Reddington for decades on court TV, for goodness sake. Like,
right.
I've seen him try other cases in person when I was a correspondent. Let me ask you this, from a defense attorney's perspective, which you are.
Yep.
Would it be unethical to claim what he's claiming, which is really legal insanity, but I know Massachusetts uses different words for it. But would it be unethical to claim legal insanity, meaning you're conceding that your client did it, if your client did not do it?
If he knew? Yes.
Right.
Why would he do that? If he
maybe it's a better defense. Like, even if it's let me just throw this out there, right? So let's look at the two potential defenses, right, that the audience is talking about.
I love this
the
exercise.
Viewers are talking about, which is the lack of criminal responsibility, the legal insanity, versus somebody else did it and it's Patrick, right?
Yeah.
If those are the two defenses, like, we're watching this trial, we know which one is stronger. But what if the one that looks stronger isn't the truth?
How does it, man? You know the abuse that I'm taking online because I've taken the position that I believe that
all of us are.
Right? Oh no, I tweeted a couple of, like, during the debacle day when Lindsay was just in, and I'm 10 feet away from her watching this. I'm 8 feet away from her parents who are sitting right behind her, and this woman is a puddle. She's destroyed while they're going through the autopsies, and you know the people that are eye for an eye are like, good. You killed your kids. I don't care if you had psychosis. I don't care what your mental, you know, those folks exist in the world. That's always the challenge with a not guilty by reason of insanity, what it's traditionally called. You know, those folks don't care, you know. If he knows, like, to me, what is easier? Like, we call insanity defenses the defense of last resort because of that thing that I was just talking about. There are people that you will never convince that if you've done acts like this horrific, the unthinkable, killing your own children, that there is no way in the world that anybody that thinks that way is letting her slide. They don't care. They're like, even if they prove that she was psychotic and they don't really understand what psychosis is, and then they come to learn what it is through experts, they can't do it. They can't bring themselves. She has to pay for what she did. I don't care what her mental state was. So you have those folks. So it makes it an incredibly difficult, because it's really a reverse jury nullification. Because if the Commonwealth, who has to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt that she did not have psychosis, which is hard, You know, not like
it's very difficult.
it's
This
very
is
difficult because
you're
you're yeah. I mean, you're really kind of like having to look at all the totality of the circumstances and trying to put this puzzle together, and like, which is why they're attacking with the planning. But people are going to come to find out that you have moments of lucidity. You know, psychosis can wax and wane. You can do complex tasks. You can manipulate a knob at a museum. You can put on a face and, you know, make a conversation if you're, you know, in and out of psychosis. So for me, if Reddington knew that there was a possibility that Patrick had done this, and let's all understand, he's got all the discovery. He's got everything. He's seen it all. And if he would have thought that there was any way possible that he could have pointed the finger at Patrick, that's a way easier case than trying to get to land, an insanity defense with the jury. It's so hard to do, man. It's so hard to do. I think this case is going to live in perpetual mistrial land. I just do. I think there's going to be.
It's interesting. You say that. I always look at that as like the cop-out analysis in most cases, but not in this. But not in this one. Not at all. Let me ask you this though, because I want to get back to this Clancy issue. What I've seen, and I think what we've seen together, is that when you listen to the folks who are watching the trials, right, and you get a sense of where the audience is, I've noticed that there's a consistency with what the audience is seeing and what the jury is seeing. My numbers from my own audience is like we're over 20% of the people think that Patrick is responsible. Do you think that could seep into the jury room, even though neither side is arguing it, neither side is alleging it? No one is going to say or point the finger at him. Do you think there's one or two jurors, that 20%, that could think that and could be a problem for prosecutors here?
I think that could be an issue, but not in the sense that I think that the jury's going to kind of put the pieces together just because what they've seen and what they haven't seen. And you know, they're not having the ability to be able to do the deep dive online when they go home at night. At least they're not supposed to be. You know, whether or not jurors actually do that when they're not sequestered.
I trust them.
Yeah, I do. I do too. Kind of. I don't know how you stay off your device for a month. And if you're on your device, I don't know how if you live in this area with geolocation and geo mapping and all that stuff and the geofencing, like you're going to run into it because the content's just going to drop in on your phone. So unless you're avoiding social media, I don't know how they're not. So the potential exists, but where I think that it's going to get tough, the thing that I'm seeing a lot is, let's say that the defense that Reddington puts on is very compelling, that his experts explain psychosis in a way that it kind of resonates with people. And people will start asking the question, well, how didn't Patrick know? And why would Patrick have ever left her alone with the kids? And that's kind of the thing where I'm seeing a lot of comments like that, where it's a little bit of blame shifting over to Patrick because he put her in a position to be able to do it where he should have known that she was so far off that it would have been impossible for him not to be aware of it. You know, so I think that could be a thing that could pop up with them, you know, but in terms of kind of putting these little pieces together, like, are they going to remember, you know, because it was a moment, right? Like that moment in the courtroom where you're sitting in that courtroom and you're watching the father of these children on the stand and the jury's just sitting there, you know, paying rapt attention, and he's describing the moment that he comes upon her. They're lost in that moment. And then when they follow that up with the 911 call, you know, I mean, like I don't even know that their head's going there because they're feeling sympathy for him just naturally, you know, as the father. So like, are they going to be able to say, did they take copious notes and say, oh, well, wait, he said she said something, but 3 witnesses later, one of the first responders is saying that she couldn't make words. You know, is it possible that somebody puts that together? Sure. You know, but is it going to be a thing where I think that there's going to be enough people in that jury to be like, because they're just not getting all the other theories that
Right,
are kind of out
and the
there.
lawyers and neither side, obviously, no one's going to be arguing that, and that's usually kind of like the roadmap for the jury going in there. Bob Mata, I know you're super busy, and this is like some time off that you're having from covering all this, but we really do appreciate it. I hope you
My
enjoy
pleasure,
that
Ben.
water behind you over the weekend, and we'll speak soon.
Love it. It's always great to hang, Vin.
That's it for now. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, our coverage of this case and this trial will continue here on VPI and on Court TV and Court TV's YouTube channel with live streaming of every moment, every minute of testimony and evidence in the case. We'll see you next time. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.